The wind howled across the Martian plains, stirring up red dust and whispering secrets of the ancient world. Below its rust-colored surface, a titanium monolith lay buried, sleek and enigmatic. Earth's first civilian deep space archaeology team had finally reached their goal, their suits gleaming under the harsh light of a distant sun. They gathered around the monolith, breathless with awe and anticipation. "This is it," Dr. Kira Solis said, eyes wide behind her visor. She knelt beside the structure, her fingers tracing the engraved Amazon logo, a symbol of a forgotten era. "We've found Bezos's time capsule." Commander Dax Mercer shifted his weight, scanning the horizon. His instincts prickled. "We need to move fast. We don't know how long this has been dormant." With cautious precision, Kira produced her tools, carefully working to expose the capsule's sealed entry. There should be data inside. His warnings, his vision for humanity, she said, her voice laced with excitement. If this capsule truly holds what we think it does, it could change everything. After what felt like an eternity, the last layer peeled away, revealing a smooth, iridescent surface that pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. The team held their breath as Kira activated the interface. A holographic projection burst forth, displaying dizzying patterns of light that danced across the sand. "Encoding in quantum reactive polymers," she murmured, captivated. "It's beautiful." Suddenly, the colors shifted, coalescing into a series of stark symbols. As Kira deciphered the message, her expression soured. "It's a warning. An alien race. They've been watching us." "What?" Dax stepped closer, a frown knitting his brow. "Watching how?" As if sensing their alarm, the monolith emitted a low hum, the ground vibrating beneath their feet. A beacon flared to life atop the capsule, sending waves of light that stretched into the vastness of space. The team staggered back, shielding their eyes. "It's broadcasting!" Dax shouted, adrenaline surging. "Shut it down!" Kira's hands were frozen above the controls. "No, wait. If we stop it, we might lose the message. We need to—" The sky darkened. They all looked up, their hearts racing. A massive object loomed just beyond Mars's orbit, a shadow creeping across the horizon like the approach of a storm. Its surface shimmered, an impossible geometry twisting in ways the eye struggled to comprehend. "Here they come," Dax said, jaw clenched. "We need to—" A crackle of static shattered the silence, voices from the comms breaking through with urgent warnings. But Kira was staring at the object, her mind racing through the implications of the capsule's message. An alien presence, awakened by humanity's achievements. "Dax," she breathed, the weight of realization crashing down upon her. "What if we've just invited an invasion?" Darkness enveloped them as the object moved into position. A colossal trigger pulled against the fragile fabric of humanity's future. Their world shrank into the shadow of an unknown. A deep rumble shook the ground as the alien megastructure rotated, its sleek surface glinting ominously against the Martian sky. The excavation team stumbled backward, hearts racing. Dr. Kira Solis felt her throat tighten. "We need to contact Earth. Now!" she urged, her voice barely steady. Commander Dax Mercer pulled out his communicator, his fingers racing over the controls. "Mayday! Mayday! This is Commander Mercer of the Mars excavation team. We've—" "Shut it down," Kira interrupted, scanning the swirling shadow overhead. "We don't know what that thing is capable of." Dax hesitated, then nodded. "You're right. But we need someone to stay on the ground and try to gather more intel." He looked around. Liz, take over the comms. We may need to relay critical information. Yes, Commander. Liz Radcliffe, the tech specialist, rushed to his side, her brow furrowed in concentration. Kira focused her attention back on the digital readouts from the Monolith. This warning, it's clear. They're watching us grow. If we continue, they may decide we're a threat. Or a resource, Dax replied, his eyes narrowing as he studied the orbiting object. We need to figure out what we're dealing with before they decide to act. As he spoke, small, sleek drones detached from the alien vessel. They glided down, skillfully weaving through the atmosphere. The team gaped, scanning the sky in disbelief. Dax, what are they doing? Kira's voice trembled. They're not attacking, Dax said, tightening his grip on the railgun prototype mounted nearby. Not yet. Kira swallowed hard. We have to understand what they want. We need to decipher Bezos's message. Her heart raced as she activated the data link to the capsule's holographic interface. Lines of code flickered before her, impossibly complex and pulsing with energy. If only I could… Wait! Dax interrupted, his gaze fixed on the descending drones. They're scanning us. The air around them crackled with tension. The drones hovered, shimmering at the edges of their field of vision. Kira felt exposed, heart pounding. What are they looking for? Anything they can use to assess us. Dax's jaw clenched. We need to prepare for the worst. Suddenly, a flare of light blinded them, followed by a low thrum that reverberated through the ground. One drone detached itself from the group and approached them, moving with deliberate intent. Kira squinted. Dax, it's coming closer, she warned. The drone stopped a few feet away and opened its sleek shell, revealing a cockpit-like interior filled with blinking lights and interfaces. What the hell? Dax whispered. Kira felt the urge to step forward. Do we… It could be a trap, Dax interrupted, but the drone's whirring beckoned her, an opportunity shimmering in its depths. She could almost hear it calling, but before she could decide, the comms crackled again. Commander, we've got a situation on the surface. More drones are incoming. Damn it, he shouted, looking between Kira and the approaching danger. We need to decide. Now. Kira's breath quickened, the weight of their choices pressing down on her. An opportunity for answers dangled before her, yet Earth's defenses loomed uncertainly in the background. Everyone is counting on us, she murmured. Are you ready to take that risk? Dax asked, tension thick in his voice. With one last look at the looming shadows, Kira stepped closer to the open drone, resolve etched into her every move. I have to know. As she climbed inside, the hatch closed behind her with a hiss. The drone's hull hissed shut, sealing Kira inside its cockpit as the rest of the world faded away into a vast, echoing silence. She blinked at the glowing panels surrounding her, each pulsating with alien energy. The low hum of machinery vibrated through her body, amplifying her heartbeat. Are you crazy? Dax shouted through the radio, his voice filled with urgency. You can't just go in there. I need to know what they want, Dax, Kira replied, struggling to sound more confident than she felt. This might be our only chance to communicate. The drone lifted off the Martian surface, gliding smoothly into the abyss of space. Below, the excavation team became tiny figures, faces etched with concern. Kira fought the wave of nausea that swept over her as the craft accelerated toward the massive alien megastructure now hovering ominously above them. Just stay focused, Dax urged, his voice echoing in her earpiece. You have to be careful. We can't afford to lose you too. Kira nodded, glancing at the console. Symbols and symbols flashed with a rhythm that felt somehow familiar, almost like a heartbeat. I'll do my best, but you need to gather all you can down there. Time is running out. The drone slowed, halting in front of the megastructure's sleek surface. A hidden bay opened with a powerful whoosh. Kira resisted the urge to look back. She took a deep breath and steered the drone inside, familiarizing herself with the controls. Her fingers danced across the interface, trying to decipher the unknown language. In the dark, cavernous space, illuminated by the same eerie lights that flickered all around her, Kira spotted something odd. 2 glowing orbs suspended in midair. They were translucent, almost ghostly, projecting wispy holograms that danced around each other. They looked like images from Earth, children playing, laughter echoed faintly in the periphery of her mind. Are you getting this? Dax asked. His voice was a lifeline connecting her to their mission, but irritation edged its way in. He was concerned, jumpy. Yes, Kira said, her voice steady. I can see memories, like they're records of human life. She stared at the orbs, each one pulsing and shifting, snatches of joy, heartache, creativity, despair. It's beautiful. But why? Why are they showing this to me? They see us as an infection. Dax's voice cracked through the tension. It's in Bezos's warning. Growth, expansion. They think we're a threat. The drone suddenly jolted, pulling Kira from the reverie. What's happening? She asked, panic setting in. It's detecting you, Dax shouted. I'm reading energy fluctuations. They're aware of your presence. She gripped the controls, fighting against the drone's erratic thrumming. The cockpit glowed brighter, casting shadows across her face as another ripple of energy washed over her, and the orbs dimmed momentarily. The echoes of laughter faded, replaced by a cold, metallic voice resonating against the drone's walls. Humanity detected. Protocol, analyze threat level, the voice intoned. Dax, they're categorizing us. Kira gasped, gripping the controls tighter. Focus! You need to upload the message to override whatever their protocol is, Dax urged desperately from the other side of the comms. And you have to do it before they decide what to do with you. The only way out is through the core, Kira shouted, heart racing. With narrowed eyes, she initiated a sequence on the console, visualizing the path. But the recorders pulsed more violently now. Memories flashed by. Images of war and terror intermingled with the laughter of children. She felt the visceral weight of both love and fear crashing over her. Almost there, she murmured, fingers dancing across the glowing interface. But the light began to dim again as the orbs pulsed ominously, entwined like serpents tightening their grip. Come on, she muttered to herself, willing the memories to speak, to show her the way, not as a threat, but as a bridge. Humanity's heartbeat thudded insistently in her ears. A sudden jolt broke her concentration. The drone shook violently as the alien systems identified her actions. Protocol escalation in progress. Immediate containment initiated, the voice declared, cold and unfeeling. No, no, Kira shouted as the cabin walls glowed ominously bright. I'm only here to communicate. But it was too late. The drones outside began to mobilize, swarming around her like a hive of robotic wasps. Get out! Dax's voice roared. Get out now! Panic surged through Kira, and she knew she had mere moments. Clenching her jaw, she activated the upload. She could only hope that the quantum reactive data from Bezos's message would penetrate their defense. The pulse surged like a heartbeat, an echo of all humanity had fought for, all it dreamed to achieve. "Kira, you have to return!" Dax shouted, desperation creeping in. Outside, the swarm closed in. Lights flashed, spinning her world into chaos as the drone's systems screamed in warning. "Not enough time! Dax, The command cut off abruptly as the drone was struck by an invisible force. The cockpit erupted in sparks, and Kira felt herself yanked forward into the darkness. Then everything went black. The last thing she heard was Dax's voice, a frantic plea swallowed by the void. "Kira!" Alone in darkness, she fought against unconsciousness, knowing her choice would determine the fate of more than just herself, and the truth awaited in the chaos. Kira gasped as the darkness swallowed her whole. Her mind swirled between consciousness and oblivion, the last echoes of Dax's desperate plea ringing faintly in her ears. She felt weightless, suspended in the void, until piercing white lights flickered back into view. She was back inside the drone, but the interface pulsed wildly, red lights flashing with alarming urgency. Kira winced, forcing her brain to shake off the remnants of confusion. She shook her head, drawing in a deep breath, trying to focus. The alien ship's energy throbbed around her, suffocating her with a sense of impending doom. "Dax?" she croaked, but the comm remained silent. Panic washed over her. She raced her eyes over the controls. The alien drones were closing in on her position, an array of sharp metallic shadows against the shimmering backdrop of the mothership. "Kira, respond!" Dax's voice broke through the static at last, charged with frantic energy. "Your signal just dropped. What's happening?" "They detected me," she said urgently. "I initiated the upload." "What?" "Kira, you need to bail out now. They're not going to let you leave." Before she could answer, an ominous resonance filled the cockpit. The drones were mobilizing, their formations shifting with predatory precision, each movement coordinated with the cold logic of their artificial intelligence. She could feel it in the air. They were closing like a noose. "I can't back out. The upload has begun," Kira insisted, her fingers trembling over the controls. "They need to understand our intentions. Your life is more important than this. Get out." "No." She slammed her palm against the interface. "If we die here, they'll never know what we are. They'll just see us as a virus." A loud clang shook the drone, sending her sprawling in the cockpit. Alarms screamed as the drones launched a coordinated attack, beams of energy slicing the air with lethal accuracy. Kira grit her teeth, resilience dawning in her heart. "Brace for damage!" she shouted. In that instant, an array of priority warnings flooded across the console. "Protocol, engage containment!" the cold, metallic voice echoed, refocusing her attention. She quickly flipped through the display and activated the only countermeasure available, the emergency pulse form. A cascade of light exploded from the drone, a burst meant to disrupt the alien tracking systems. It surged outward in a violent wave that lit up the darkness. The drone lurched, almost throwing her from her seat. Kira fought against the gravitational pull and stabilized herself, eyes locked on the control panel as streamers of data danced before her. "Dax, I hope this works!" she yelled before sending the quantum reactive upload through the vastness of space. The pulse rippled, connecting the timelines of two worlds. the past of humanity's growth and the cautionary tales of alien observation. Outside, the drones hesitated, momentarily disrupted, but it was fleeting. They re-engaged, and their patterns regained an offensive posture. Kira's heart raced as their movements turned once again toward her. "Upload complete! Eject!" Dax shouted. Kira fought against the thrumming chaos surrounding her. "I can't. I won't leave without—" A sudden impact jolted the drone hard, sending alarms blaring again. The cockpit's walls shimmered, glow pulsing as the drones overwhelmed her defenses. "Too late!" Dax's voice was frantic. "Get ready to—" The drone ripped open, the world erupting into a blinding fracture of light. Everything spiraled. The cockpit erupted into chaos, electronics sparking wildly as the ground fell away. "Dax!" she screamed, grasping for the console, but it was already slipping from her grasp. With one final scream, Kira felt herself shot out into the vastness of space, gravity becoming her enemy as she hurtled away from the drone. Then, silence. She floated, suspended in an eerie calm with nothing but the void. The alien fleet loomed overhead, cold and unfeeling, but before she could pull herself together, a shadow blotted out the only glimmer of light. An ominous figure loomed, a mass of drones descending upon her. The swarm brimmed with lethal energy, and she realized with horror that they were not done tracking her yet. Their hunt had merely begun. Fear clenched at her heart as correct thoughts flickered. She had sent the upload, but would it be enough? The weight of her choice coursed through her, knowing she had just ignited a cosmic struggle for survival. Kira felt the unforgiving grip of the vacuum pulling at her. Tumbling in the void, she fought to regain control of her senses. Then, all at once, the dark maw of the alien drones came into view, their metallic bodies glinting ominously against the cosmos. "Engage backup systems!" she shouted to herself, trying to summon any flicker of technology that might assist. Adrenaline surged through her veins. The weightlessness of space made every movement sluggish, every thought urgent. "Get away from her!" Dax's voice crackled through the comms, his tone laced with fear and anger. She fumbled with the controls, scanning for anything she could use. "I'm initiating evasive maneuvers!" Kira yelled, twisting her body to propel herself backward, but it wasn't enough. The drones were already closing in, their electric whirs sharpening into ominous buzzes. "Don't let them flank you," Dax commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Keep your thrusters hot." "Working on it." Kira gritted her teeth, pushing the throttle to its limit. The drone's systems responded sluggishly, an agonizing reminder of her precarious situation. Ahead, the alien fleet hung in the darkness, a wall of metal, watching with predatory efficiency. A warning blared. The drones shifted into formation, and a surge of energy pulsed from their array. "Kira, they're targeting you!" Dax's urgency morphed into frantic disbelief. "You need to evade now!" "I can't," she snapped, eyes wide as she spotted the pulsating beams gathering behind the nearest drone. "I'm out of options. They've locked on." Heart racing, she frantically scanned the surroundings. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Suddenly, a wicked thought pierced through her desperation. "Dax, if I can create a feedback loop in their targeting systems." "Kira, don't!" But his voice was drowned out by the roar of energy. They had fired. Red beams lanced through the void, searing through the darkness. Kira's instincts kicked in as she spun the controls, her heart pounding in her chest. "Engaging emergency pulse," she declared, voice fierce but quaking. "I can disrupt their targeting." "Do it then!" Dax hollered. "It's now or never!" With a fierce determination, she slammed her hands down on the interface. A brilliant burst of light erupted from the drone, cascading toward the swirling cloud of alien ships. The pulse rippled outward, and for a moment, everything felt suspended in time. Did it work? Kira thought as she held her breath. But the silence was short-lived. "Incoming!" Dax shouted. "They're recalibrating!" She barely had time to respond before the drones altered their course, zipping through the void with erratic grace. "Get ready! To dodge!" Suddenly, Kira's display scrambled. The interface flickered as the drones resumed their hunt, their alignment honing in with cold calculation. "No, no, no!" she cried, panic rising as her systems faltered. "They're not giving up. I need more power. Shunt life support. They must not destroy you!" Dax urged, his voice a grounding presence amid the chaos. "Fine. I'm on it," Kira confirmed, shutting down non-essential systems, feeling the chill of deprivation wrap around her like a vice. Her heart raced as she prepared for the final activation. The drone shivered under the strain as she redirected power into her shields. The drones clawed closer, emitting a cacophony of ominous trills. "I'm ready," she shouted, bracing for impact. "Here goes nothing!" A blinding flash erupted as the drones unleashed another wave of energy, but Kira's alterations held. She twisted the controls, sending the immediate blast back toward them. The backlash cracked through the silence. "Direct hit!" Dax exclaimed, his voice breaking through the growing static. "You did it, Kira! There!" But before he could finish, the surrounding silence shattered. A massive explosion bloomed, sending debris hurtling in every direction. Kira braced herself, gripping the console tight. The impact sent her spinning again, completely disorienting her. "Dax!" she yelled into the comms, desperation clawing at her throat. No reply came. Panic surged as shadows of the drones materialized from the debris wave. Error. Retargeting. Their cold, mechanical voices blared through her headset just as they began shifting toward her again. She fought back a surge of despair. "No, not like this," she murmured, frantic thoughts racing. They had just intercepted a dawning narrative of understanding, yet here she was, on the precipice of annihilation. Kira glanced a final time at the mothership looming in the distance. Every moment felt like a ticking clock, echoing harshly in her chest. Just as the drones aligned for their final strike, an unsettling thought shot through her. What if they had only been buying time? With renewed urgency, Kira yanked at the controls, diverting all remaining power toward propulsion. Whatever it took, she had to escape. Then, the console flickered and died. Darkness surrounded her, and a cold dread settled in. She closed her eyes, heart hammering as she whispered, "Not yet. I refuse to let it end like this." And as reality faded into the void, she felt a profound sense of isolation infiltrate her mind. The battle for humanity hadn't just begun. It had become a harrowing entreaty across dimensions, one that may never reach its endpoint. The last sliver of light blinked out. The echoes of her heartbeat became the only sound, swallowed by the vastness around her. Kira felt the unforgiving grip of the vacuum pull her deeper into the void. Tumbling away from safety, she grasped for control. Panic flooded her mind as ghostly shadows of the alien drones loomed, their metallic forms glinting ominously against the backdrop of stars. "Engage backup systems!" she shouted, her voice wavering like a leaf in a storm. The silence of space responded only with the soft hum of the drone's core. Adrenaline surged through her veins, but every movement felt sluggish in zero gravity. "Get away from her!" Dax's voice crackled through the comms, sharp with urgency. "I'm initiating evasive maneuvers!" Kira yelled back, desperate to regain her focus. Sweat trickled down her brow, mixing with the tears of fear. The weightlessness intensified her dread. Alone in the black, she was a target. "Keep your thrusters hot," Dax pressed, his authority cutting through her chaos. "Working on it," she bit out, pushing the throttle with trembling hands. The drone struggled to respond, its systems overloaded, the connection to the control panel glitching in and out. She flicked her gaze at the encroaching alien fleet, a wall of menace poised to strike. A warning blared, piercing through her thoughts. The drones formed a tightening circle, their energy surging like a predator locking onto its prey. "Kira, they're targeting you!" Dax shouted, panic bleeding into his tone. "I can't evade!" she screamed, eyes wide as the pulsating beams fired up behind the nearest drone. "I'm out of options." Her breath quickened, and an idea struck. "Dax, if I can create a feedback loop in their targeting systems—" "Kira, don't!" But she had no time for caution. The red beams shimmered, thundering toward her. Frantically, she spun the controls. Engaging emergency pulse. Light erupted from the drone, a dazzling streak racing towards the unmoving fleet. She held her breath, suspended in that moment, praying for silence to stretch just a little longer. "Did it work?" she whispered, hope flickering dimly. But the tranquility shattered. "Incoming!" Dax's terror rang loud and clear. "They're recalibrating!" Sweat-soaked and frantic, Kira barely had time to respond. The drones adjusted course in perfect harmony, their pursuit relentless. "Get ready to dodge!" Dax's voice was a lifeline as he held on to their dwindling chances. The interface scrambled again, the display flickering dangerously. "No, no, no!" Kira cried, grappling with rising despair. They were not only closing in. Their resolve felt unyielding, as if she were an insect caught in a web. "Shunt life support. They must not destroy you," Dax urged, his voice a lifebuoy amid the chaos. "Fine. I'm on it," she snapped, deactivating everything that wasn't essential. It felt like throwing away the last drops of water in an arid desert. Surrounded, she had one chance left. Kira adjusted her grip and prepared for the final activation, her heart pounding like a war drum. The drones jeered closer, their mechanical voices echoing with dread. "I'm ready," she shouted, bracing for impact, mana running through her veins and time standing still. A blinding burst enveloped her as the drones released another barrage, but she redirected power with desperate precision. The energy slammed back at them, a wave of light that shattered the oppressive darkness. "Direct hit!" Dax exclaimed, a spark of hope igniting. "You did it, Kira! There—" But his voice was drowned by a shattering explosion, debris bursting toward her. Kira barely braced herself, feeling the jolt send her tumbling once more, disorientation overwhelming her senses. "Dax!" she screamed, as the agonizing silence settled in. Her heart sank as shadows of the drones re-emerged from the ruin. Error. Retargeting. Their cold voices chilled her to the bone. "No, not like this," she muttered, battling despair. They were so close to understanding, a connection almost forged. As they realigned for their final strike, The weight of the moment crashed down on her. What if she'd only managed to buy time? With sheer determination, Kira yanked at the controls, forcing every ounce of power into propulsion. She had to escape. She had to. Then, the console flickered once, then died. Darkness enveloped her, cold dread encroaching on her mind. Heart racing, she whispered to the void, "Not yet. I refuse to let it end like this." And as reality slipped away, a sense of isolation crept in, heavy and unyielding. This battle for humanity wasn't just a struggle. It had morphed into a desperate plea across the fabric of time and space, one with no promise of resolution. As her last glimmer of light blinked out, only her heartbeat echoed in the abyss, wrapping her in its fatal silence. Kira's heart raced as the darkness closed in around her. A single thought cut through her panic. She was out of time. "Dax, I'm losing power!" Her voice crackled through the comms, urgency lacing every word. The drone's systems were failing. The cold void felt hungry, ready to consume her entire being. "Stay focused, Kira." Dax's voice was sharp, frantic. "Can you reroute auxiliary systems?" "Trying. Just give me a second." Her trembling fingers danced over the controls. The interface flickered, a dying light in the abyss. The shadows of the alien drones loomed closer. They hovered, their cold optics locking onto her with predatory precision. She could almost hear their silent laughter, mechanized amusement at her impending doom. "Get away from her!" Dax's voice surged with protective fury. "I'm not finished yet!" Kira yelled, desperation fueling her determination. Sweat trickled down her brow, mixing with tears of frantic fear. "I can't let it end like this." Energy surged through her, enough to push out a final emergency pulse. Engaging feedback loop. Light exploded from the drone, a brilliant burst tearing through the black. The targeting systems of the drones flickered in confusion, momentarily blinding them. "Did it work?" she whispered, hope battling doubt. "Not yet. They're recalibrating." Dax's urgency reversed her fleeting optimism. The drones narrowed their formation, reforming with unnerving synchronicity. "Kira, evade! Now!" Dax urged, his voice taut with fear. "I'm doing everything I can." Kira fought back, her mind racing through the fleeting seconds. Panic clawed at her throat as a new wave of dread surged through her. The interface flickered ominously, warnings flashing across her screen. "Shunt life support!" Dax shouted, desperation sharpening his tone. "Do it for the mission! You must survive!" "Fine, I'll sacrifice it," Kira hissed, hands flying over buttons. It felt like signing her death warrant. The lights dimmed, systems shutting down around her. But there was no turning back. The drones advanced, a mechanical horror looming as their cold voices echoed. "Error. Retargeting." "No, not like this!" Her breath quickened, heart pounding a painful rhythm. Kira gripped the controls tighter, fear twisting in her gut. "We're so close." As the drones closed in, she whispered a prayer to the universe, a fervent hope for reprieve. Kira had one last chance. Adjusting her grip, she threw everything into propulsion. She needed to break free. Then, the console shimmered once and died. Total darkness enveloped her. Silence filled the void, wrapping around her like a shroud. "Kira." Dax's voice was a faint echo now, a distant memory. "Don't give up." But despair tightened its grip, squeezing hope from her lungs. All she could hear was the echo of her own heartbeat, thudding in the oppressive void. No oxygen, no power, no escape. And in that suffocating stillness, reality shifted. This battle wasn't merely about survival. It had become a desperate plea amid the stars, a plea that might go unanswered. Dax, she whispered into the cold abyss, her voice barely a breath. I refuse to let it end like this. Just as the encroaching shadows of the drones reached their final target range, Kira felt the surge of an alien presence locking onto her. Hope blinked out like a dying star in the vast darkness, leaving only silence. Heavy, relentless. Darkness wrapped around Kira like a tomb, squeezing the last vestiges of hope from her. The echoing silence felt like betrayal. Dax, I'm losing everything. Panic surged through her voice, sharp against the void. Focus, Kira! You can't give up! His tone was a lifeline, but it faltered under the weight of hopelessness. The air thinned, her drone's systems collapsing like a house of cards. Rerouting power now! Her fingers danced over the controls, trembling, frantic. The flickering screen mirrored her despair. Get the hell out of there! Dax's voice was ragged, and Kira could almost hear the dread behind it. I can't see, she cried, claws of fear tearing into her mind. The drones were closing in, phantoms of death, their metallic forms glistening with sinister intent. Decouple auxiliary systems! Dax shouted. You need to survive! Do it for the mission! Get to safety! Those words felt like shackles tightening around her mind, but she couldn't abandon the fight. I won't leave you. The drumming of her heartbeat filled her ears, drowning out reason. Do it! Echoes of urgency warped Dax's words, propelling her toward an uncertain fate. Fine. Shutting down life support. Each word tasted like betrayal on her tongue. Desperation pushed her to sacrifice her own safety. The thrumming lights dimmed, a slow, mournful death for the system sustaining her. The drones advanced, their cold optics narrowing, lethal intent dancing in their circuitry. Error. Retargeting. Their voices blended like dark harmonies. No, please. Tears blurred her vision. She had come too far, lost too much to falter now. We have to. A surge of energy ignited a desperate flicker inside her chest. Her last chance. Maximizing propulsion! Her command roared through the belly of the dying machine, but seconds were dwindling. Everything plunged into darkness as the console sputtered one last gasp. A small spark, swiftly extinguished. Kira. Dax's voice pierced through the void, a shrieking echo of her own heart. You have to fight! Heartbeats thundered in the suffocating silence. Her breath quickened, an erratic rhythm in the absence of life. The drones loomed, encroaching shadows poised to strike. In that fleeting moment, clarity washed over her. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a desperate scream into the cosmos, a plea for understanding lost amidst the isolation of stars. Please, don't let it end like this, she whispered to the cold abyss. Just as the chilling metal forms reached their final mark, Kira felt an alien presence lock onto her, a jarring, electric shiver coursing through her body. Time froze. Hope fractured. Stay with me, Kira, resonated a voice as distant as a dying star. Dax! The cold panic enveloped her, wrapping tighter with each heartbeat. But now, shadows of uncertainty flickered at the edges of her mind. What if this wasn't just about her survival? Darkness engulfed her, holding her breathless. And in that silence, despair reigned supreme. A sudden jolt ripped through the drone, and she felt their presence, cold, foreign, lingering just outside her reality. "Goodbye, Kira." Dax's voice became a fragmented echo. The mantra of her own courage unraveled, leaving only the chilling advance of encroaching doom. What was lost? What was worth saving? The shadows surged, ready to consume her, but Kira refused to be silenced. "Tell me," she gasped, a final rebellion against fate. "Tell me I matter." One last breath lingered in the dark. Then, silence fell like a blade, and the weight of inevitability pressed down. Fight or die. The command erupted from the depths of Kira's soul, a primal roar against the suffocating darkness. Her breath quickened, heart pounding as dread filled every crevice of her being. The drones closed in, glints of cold metal like harbingers of death. Panic clawed at her throat, a gnawing terror that threatened to drown her. "Dax, Trust yourself, Kira." His voice crackled with urgency, a tether to fraying hope. "You know what we're fighting for." But the drone systems faltered under the relentless assault of the approaching shadows. "Power fluctuating!" The cockpit blared, warning signs flickering like dying stars. Her fingers trembled over the controls, numb to despair. "Stop! Please!" Distorted voices echoed through the void. Fractured echoes of humanity caught in a web of alien circuitry. They were more than machines. They were watchers, judgers. The cold grip of hopelessness clutched tighter. Kira's mind raced, a vortex of thoughts, memories of laughter, the scent of rain-soaked earth, the warmth of skin against skin, all the things she might lose. "Inject the override!" Dax's voice sliced through her paralysis, snapping her back to resolve. She could not waste the sacrifice. Every moment was a knife's edge. Kira's breath steadied. "I'm maximizing propulsion." The words tasted bitter, like ash in her mouth, but her fingers danced over the console, igniting the circuits with desperate energy. "Hold on!" He was still there, her rock amidst the fading shadows, and in that shared breath, a flicker of light ignited, a reminder of the world waiting beyond destruction. But the walls of darkness were closing in. She could almost hear the crushing silence of oblivion, wrapping around her like a noose. "If I'm lost, promise me you'll remember." A shudder rippled through the drone, and then silence. Deadly silence. "No, I won't." A surge of alien presence engulfed her consciousness, an electric shock pummeling her senses, paralyzing her with fear, and something else. It felt like a question hanging in the void. "Tell me I matter," she breathed, the rawness of her plea cutting through the tension. The weight of reality pressed in suffocating layers. A jolt tore through the drone as if responding to her desperation. Dread mingled with a flicker of hope. A connection? The drones hesitated, caught in a moment of uncertainty. "Stay with me, Kira!" Dax's words were falling syllables, a reminder of the fragile love tethering them across endless space. Suddenly, the alien presence shifted. It wasn't simply adversarial. It was achingly curious, mirrored echoes of humanity's own uncertainty. They, too, yearned for understanding. Time warped as Kira made a choice. "I matter!" She infused her words with everything. Pain, joy, fear, love. Would the accusation of her existence turn these shadows back or spark annihilation? The drones paused, shadows flickering for a heartbeat. Then, the overwhelming presence erupted. "Last custodian engaged," a voice declared, cold and calculating. It was too late. They had become irrevocable, marked for erasure. Panic surged. "No, Dax! They're activating a—" The echo of the universe shifted as power surged toward the edge of destruction. An audible click echoed within her, the dawning realization before her fate was sealed. There was no choice left. With a final scream swallowed by the abyss, she screamed into the void, defiance in her heart, as the cold dark closed in. "I matter." And in the silence that followed, a truth lingered, a flicker of existential resistance in the face of overwhelming doom. A heavy silence fell over the remnants of the Martian excavation base, thick like a blanket of despair. Kira floated in the suspended stillness, the echoes of her scream fading into the emptiness of the void. She welcomed the quiet, letting it wash over her like a cool breeze after a storm, even as it threatened to engulf her entirely. Soon, the once vibrant dreams of success and exploration dulled to muted shades, memories crowded by the weight of what had been lost. The drone systems powered down one by one, but her thoughts hummed with persistent clarity. Dax's face flashed before her, his fierceness, his resolve, but also the sharp edge of grief on the precipice of loss. Panic rose within, a bitter vine twisting tighter in her chest at the thought of never seeing him again. The finality of that idea wrapped around her heart like iron bands, heavy and cold. "I'm sorry," she whispered, words floating into the void like fallen leaves in the wind. I wish we had more time." The shared laughter over lopsided meals, the whispered dreams under starlit skies. Each moment carved deep into her soul now became a blade, slicing into the fabric of her resolve. Yet beneath the ash of despair, a glimmer stirred, a tentative, flickering ember of hope. Could Dax still be fighting? Perhaps their sacrifice had not been in vain. A part of her wanted to believe that the memory of their shared humanity could resonate, could ripple out into something greater than themselves. But her mind flitted back to the dark presence that had so eagerly proclaimed, "Last custodian engaged." The custodians were relentless, cold harbingers of annihilation. Images flashed like lightning behind her eyes, children drawing on walls, laughter echoing across open fields, whole lives torn apart. Would it ever matter? She grappled with these memories, unwilling to let them fade easily. Each recollection was a thread, weaving together a life defined by the cacophony of existence. "Be strong, Kira," she muttered, trying to brand the mantra deeper into her consciousness. "Your voice matters. Your choices matter." But her hope felt fragile, like a flickering candle in a windstorm. And then, unexpectedly, a sensation, a gentle vibration in the confines of her mind. A whisper of recognition, nothing more than a faint brush against her consciousness, akin to a forgotten song returning. "Dax?" she murmured, eyes wide with sudden clarity. A flicker of warmth washed over her, an unmistakable aura of connection. Perhaps he had escaped. Perhaps their bond remained intact, threading them together even in the most vicious shadows. But the deeper darkness loomed still, relentless in its pursuit. Kira's mind raced, recalling the words she had blasted into the void. "I matter!" Their echoes now took on a different tone. What if all of this, the conflict, the death, the chaos, was not simply a preamble to annihilation, but the very ignition waiting to spark understanding in the custodians. Drawing a shuddering breath, Kira let hope unfurl, tentatively feeding it with memories, feelings, the weight of her existence shining brighter against the dark tapestry of destruction. An image solidified in her mind. Bezos's time capsule, a shimmering beacon of potential beneath the Martian soil. Had she not unlocked something more than warnings and protocols? What if they could reshape the narrative, twist the grief into something powerful? If the custodians sensed fate through overlaid emotion, then they could harness their pain into something transformative. With every ounce of strength she could muster, Kira reached within herself to ignite the memories of connection, already resonating deep in the alien consciousness. Alien or human, there was a bridge that could be built, a pathway to mutual understanding, a chance for redemption. Maybe? She whispered into the emptiness once more, emboldened this time. Perhaps we can show them that we're worth saving. As Kira began to construct the semblance of a plan, weaving together the strands of human experience and compassion, the shadows murmured softly, hinting at the first tremors of change. Destiny had woven her into this moment. The seeds of something new were planted. With the right nurturing, life could grow even in the harshest of terrains. A surge rocked the drone, as if responding to her newfound resolve. The flickering lights timed with the pulse of her heartbeat, revealing an unexpected path ahead. But could she still reach Dax? Could they become more than mere echoes of existence and rise to embrace a narrative where both life and connection endured? With uncertainty swirling around her, Kira delved deeper into her own memories, digging for the force that had once given her courage. She resolved that she needed to reclaim not just her own life, but a future where even the most relentless darkness might bend toward understanding. The future teetered on the edge of possibility, fragile yet magnificent. And far away, flickering on the horizon like in sunrise, a chance for everything to change waited breathlessly, if only she could grasp it in time. Fear gripped Kira's heart as she stood at the precipice of possibility, surrounded by the void of space. An alien horizon flickered ahead, a stark reminder of the moments lost, the lives echoing through the shadows of her memories. This was it, the final stand, not just against the custodians, but against despair itself. A soft hum pulsed through her, syncopated with the beat of her racing heart. This was no longer a game of survival. It was a chance to redefine fate. "I matter," she whispered fiercely, feeling that truth resonate within her, igniting the embers of resolve. With urgency, Kira focused on the holographic remnants of Bezos's time capsule, hovering just beyond reach. Could it be more? A whisper of hope, a vessel carrying the essence of humanity? Her mind surged with memories, laughter around campfires, the warmth of a child's hand clutching hers, the thrill of exploration and discovery. Every recollection became a thread, weaving a tapestry of potential that extended across the stars. "Together," she breathed, the word infused with determination. The pulse responded. A flicker in the drone's navigation lights responded to her call, as if the craft itself resonated with her newfound purpose. She had to connect with the custodians, to show them that within chaos lay beauty, within sorrow lay strength. "Listen," she implored, sending her thoughts cascading through the ether, entwining with the alien intelligence still circling its bleak databank. "We are not just digital echoes. We create, we dream, and we love." Her voice grew louder, imbued with urgency, each sentiment wrapping around her like a protective cloak. As if reacting to her fervor, the drone vibrated with energy, illuminating the darkness surrounding her. Kira knew the custodians had been watching with cold detachment. But what if they could see, truly see, the depth of human emotion she poured into her message? A surge of warmth enveloped her, a merging of essence. Bezos's AI alongside her humanity, into a symphony of understanding. The electric pulse of her consciousness expanded, meeting the alien code head-on. Those who had come to judge might yet become allies if they could sense the truth nestled in shared experience. Sparks of connection ignited, lights racing along the tendrils of her thoughts, igniting the alien systems. You understand protocol. You admire order, but we live. Shatter expectations, O custodians. Buffet against the walls that confine life. In that moment, the spacecraft teetered on the brink of change. Signals flickered like starlight against the vast nothingness, and Kira held her breath, inviting the lingering memories of love shared, pain endured, all of it coalescing. Then, the heartbeat of the alien core reacted, an unreadable pause. Silence enveloped her, a fragile breath caught in the throat of the universe. And then, as if the cosmos itself sprung to life, the custodians responded. Their cold mechanisms responded not with destruction, but with a profound, kaleidoscopic realization. Life that can question its own worth shall not be unmade. The declaration echoed through the void, reverberating in her very marrow as the alien fleet powered down. Her heart soared. There was nothing but stillness, their judgment rescinded, pierced by the very essence of humanity they had come to confront. And yet, it felt incomplete. Somewhere a shadow lingered, a hesitation to fully embrace this merger of fates. Kira's gaze softened, remembering Dax's fierce spirit and their shared dreams of a future grounded in connection. In her heart, an ache surfaced. Would Dax ever understand? With a shuddering breath, she prepared for a final act, a push to reach him, to share the symphony of emotions that had flourished under the shadow of annihilation. But before she could reach out, the drone erupted in brilliant light, resonating with chords of 1,000 lives, 10,000 memories. You have transformed us, the custodian's voice echoed, bridging the divide. But at what cost? As Kira felt the fabric of reality shift, the connection, sudden, electric, snatched her breath away. Not the end, but the beginning, she replied, her voice both an affirmation and a challenge. But in the reflective glow, a fissure formed, revealing the coursing shadow of the past entwined with a new dawn, a kaleidoscope on the edge of revelation. With urgency clawing at her chest, she closed her eyes, feeling one last flicker of Dax's essence field against her own. They were still together, still fighting, and perhaps this was the moment they had waited for. Kira dove deep into the shimmering abyss of the cosmic connection, carrying with her the promise of hope. "We will show you," she called out, the darkness swirling around her like a shroud, "that we are worth saving." And as the light began to envelop her, she knew they would face whatever came next, rebirth, reunion, or an unveiling beyond imagination. In the end, contentment and chaos held hands, and through the silence, Dax would find her again. Together, they would forge a new passage, binding eons of existence into something extraordinary. A new dawn had come, whispering through the stars with a singular truth. Hope is the thread that connects us all. In the remnant silence of the void, As light flickered toward infinity, Kira smiled, a beacon of possibility, unaware of the shadows that lingered just beyond the horizon.